at midday. Hopefully we'll get a few people joining us. I apologise if I lose my voice at some point. I'm still recovering from the effects of my generous grandson generously sharing his ailments. I'll just wait and see who's going to join us. Just looking at the weather, I've come on the bike today. It's supposed to stay dry, but it has been threatening. There's been a bit of drizzle. It's not exactly cracking the flags here today, just cloudy. Hi Justine, first to join us. Facebook user, hi Mark, I've got my pen and paper ready. It doesn't actually say who that is.
It might be somebody watching from a support group, it does that sometimes.
Apparently it does that if you watch from a support group sometimes. Yeah, so I've been away a couple of weeks. I've had what I believe is called hand, foot, mouth, which is something I'd never heard of until actually catching it. And I caught it off my grandson Eric, and it's a virus which is kind of like chicken pox in some ways. I seem to cop for it on my nose and my hands mostly, which are almost recovered. But at one point I couldn't really pick anything up, so I've been out of the lab recovering, so hopefully next week I should be back to normal. I've done a little bit of research and things, but I've kept away from the production side of stuff.
So it's Cam that's got a pen and paper ready.
Oh, that's not for us. This goes down the list, does it? I'm still getting used to this studio thing for doing lives. Today I thought what we could talk about was something that's relevant to most people on this group, and the main reason we're here, which is fibromyalgia. There's been a couple of interesting developments recently. So I thought it would be a good thing to talk about that. I'm going to offer my opinions on the subject and hopefully some evidence as well for what seems to be going on. Hope you're feeling better. Yeah, I am, thank you. Lots better. At one stage last week I couldn't even pick anything up, could I? Barely. My hands were quite sore. I'm past all that now, thank goodness. Yeah, thank you for all your comments and well wishes. It's much appreciated. So in the news this week there has been a report published by King's College, I think, on fibromyalgia, and they are saying it's been linked to autoimmune diseases. So a possible cause there is an autoimmune type effect that I think we're all familiar with these days with allergies and all that kind of thing. So finally there's some research is filtering through, and people are starting to look at it and take it more seriously. It's something we've been looking at for a good few years now, ever since found out it's something that Becky had. And this report has kind of confirmed my personal suspicions of what's going on. And so I thought, finally, now that there is some kind of concrete evidence, I would stick my neck out and come out and say what I think are the causes, and hopefully what would help with this condition, stroke affliction that a lot of people seem to be suffering with these days. Joe says, hi all, I'm in panic mode. How come you're panicking? Nothing serious, I hope. Rena says, I have fibromyalgia and I'm always fobbed off. It's I think it is a common thing. I don't think doctors tend to fob people off on purpose. I just think they're confronted with this condition that they don't know how to treat, basically. So I think they throw some medication out there, painkillers and whatnot, and hope that it goes away, but obviously it never does. So here at MCC, we are trying to actually do something about it and help people with the symptoms and other things. So on that note, yeah, the report is from King's College. I can post a link for that report at the end of the live. It's basically saying that fibro is linked to your immune system, autoimmune diseases. And it's something in the past kind of 30 years, perhaps more, 40 years, has been on the increase. Lots and lots of these kind of autoimmune diseases they've just gone berserk in the last 30 years or so. The number of cases, it's something, I mean, I'm 50 now, it's something never used to hear of really when I was younger. There's all kinds of things, celiacs, you know, even autism, things like that. And I have actually got some slides that I want to show. So my personal feeling about a lot of these things is that they're environmental, and not naturally environmentally occurring. It's what's been happening with our environment due to human kind of intervention, for want of a better word. And one of the main things that I do believe that contributes to a lot of these things is our food and our water. And again, in the last kind of 30 years, I'm going to pick on an example of this, which is glyphosate, which is used in conjunction with GM crops. And it's prolific in our food chain now. Near enough all of our cereal crops are GM these days now. And even the ones we import, especially from North America, it's pretty much all GM over there now. And to kind of prove a point, that I've got a slide here, and this only goes up to sort of early 2000s. I'll try and put this up. Hopefully you can see this. I'll just change this over. There's a couple of other. What else have we got? Graphs like this for fibromyalgia, but I can't actually find any graphs showing the rise in cases of fibromyalgia, but I'm fairly certain it would follow a similar pattern, because again, it's something you never used to hear of years ago, and now is it 1 in 20 or something ridiculous?
1 in 25.
1 in 25 people, they reckon, will get it, which is sort of similar numbers to a lot of these other conditions. So what does that have to do with fibromyalgia? Well, I think because a lot of these things here have been linked with autoimmune diseases. I'll switch that off for a sec. So yeah, I think fibromyalgia is another one that's linked to immune system, and mainly I think estrogenics in the environment, which affects your hormone balance, which again affects your immune response. It does seem to be, the reason I say hormone as well is because glyphosate has been shown to have estrogenic effects. We've seen a lot of evidence for that in the rivers, the runoff from farmland. You're getting kind of gender sex swaps with fish and such like. We're seeing effects like that in humans now. They've blamed it on the pill. Might have a small effect that, but I think the main one is probably our friend glyphosate, which the trade name of which is Roundup, which contains other things as well, but the main active ingredient I think is glyphosate. Yeah, so it can have like an estrogenic effect on our bodies, and this in turn has an effect on autoimmune type responses. And some evidence for that I've uncovered recently is a report.
When you put the slides up, just make sure that the mic's on as well.
To make sure what?
The mic's thing still says, yeah, that's on.
What's that doing now? I'm still getting used to this, like I say.
There you go.
Was I dropping out then while I was there?
A little bit, I think, yeah.
So yeah, just a piece of evidence here. Estrogens promote the production of natural neutralizing antibodies in fish. So basically, estrogenics will promote the production of certain kinds of antibodies and receptors in your immune system. And the interesting thing about that is that the report from King's College has suggested that fibromyalgia is linked to an increase in antibodies in which will attach to your nervous system and make it hypersensitive. And that's why they're saying it's an autoimmune response. So there's the link for that. So all these links, they're links in a chain. It's typical though that the medical kind of profession are approaching, I don't know what's happened to the scientific approach anymore, but they found this out, and the first thing they've said is that they could perhaps offer a treatment for this by giving a drug that could inhibit antibody production in your body. It just beggars belief, the thought pattern to me. It's a treatment again. Oh, we can treat this. We can offer this drug, and it'll suppress your antibodies. You don't want to suppress your antibodies in your body. That's how you fight disease. If you start doing that, you're going to end up with other problems. But they're just not looking for a cause. I just don't understand them. What is the cause? What is causing this increase in the antibodies? We don't want a drug that stops it until we find out the cause. I mean, I've spent the last kind of 30 odd years of my life as a chemist now. If I was doing a chemical reaction and we got a side reaction happening in it, I wouldn't look at it and go, oh, there's a side reaction happening here that we don't want. I know I'll put something else in that will stop that. Oh, no, you look at the cause, what's causing it? And you can eradicate it completely by looking at the cause. I don't understand the medical profession and their approach at all. I'll switch that off now. I know it sounds like a bit of a rant, but to me, if there's a problem, you try and find the cause. You don't just treat the symptom, which is something they've been doing again for the last sort of 30 years. It seems to be that it's all it seems to stem from this time. It's strange. Anyway, I've looked into the glyphosate. A lot say that it's kind of safe. They go off the toxicity. The trouble with looking at the toxicity of a chemical is that when they test that, what they do is they get this stuff in its pure form, and they'll get some poor little lab rats and they'll stuff them full of this stuff. And basically, if so much of it over so many days kills them, then that's what they call the lethal dose, LD50. So they've said that because you need so much of this stuff to kill an animal, that it's kind of classed as safe. But one thing that doesn't take into account is the other side effects that are non-lethal and all that kind of thing. So you could take this stuff all your life and it doesn't kill you, but what else is it doing to you? You know, and these are the kind of effects that we're dealing with. And this stuff is all over the place now. But it's not just that. There's other things in the environment, like the phthalates, plasticizers, metals, all this kind of stuff, you name it. The toxic load. There's halogens in the water supply, such as chlorine, bromine, fluorine, all that kind of thing. They all inhibit the action of iodine, or compete with it, I should say, in your body. Iodine is essential to your thyroid function and other things in your system. These other halogens are more reactive, so they'll block that. They'll be taken preferentially to the iodine. So it's a toxic load, basically. It's not just one thing. I've just picked on the glyphosate as an example. But it is something that I've suspected for a good few years now, and we've been researching this for a long time, looking into the fibromyalgia. And then finally, there is some evidence to back up what we've been thinking. So I think it's probably time, this is what I believe, and environmental factors are to blame for this thing. And I think it is kind of a build up over the years. You get this load, this effect on your body, and a common thing with fibro seems to be like a trauma that sets it off. Now that could be a physical one, like what happened with Becky. It could be an emotional one. It could be a chemical one, like if you're taking all these drugs, causes a kind of a trauma to your body. So it does seem to build, and then there's something that kind of, it's the last straw that, that's it. Then your body says enough's enough, and you develop this hyposensitivity that we know as fibromyalgia. So it's a cumulative effect, I think. So what can you do about it? I mean, here at MCC, we've been researching this for, like I say, a few years now, beavering away in the background, as it were. And I think hopefully next year we have been looking at a supplement, haven't we?
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots to do on that yet, but we're kind of halfway there. There's testing he's doing, all that kind of stuff, and the research is ongoing. But I'm hoping that by kind of this time next year, we'll be able to offer a supplement that may help combat the effects of fibromyalgia. So fingers crossed, we are working on that, but that's to come. We'll see how we go with that. So this will complement all the other stuff we do that helps to alleviate the symptoms of this affliction. Yeah, so that's where we are. That's where we're up to now. And I'm glad that there is finally some evidence coming through concrete that we can say it's adding to what we already think here. So yeah, we'll carry on working with that and see how we go with it. Joel says it's funny you should say that I got this after having a hysterectomy. Yeah, it's a kind of a similar thing with you, wasn't it? Yeah, there seems to be some sort of trauma that kicks it off. I always agree, treating the symptom, not the cause. Yeah, I don't know why that seems to be the way of things these days. No one seems to look at the cause for anything. But, in the scientific method, that's what you should do. You shouldn't just try and introduce another variable into a system to combat an effect without knowing the cause of it. You can actually make things worse doing that. It's crazy. Rosemary says, I was told my fibromyalgia was due to trauma. Again, yeah, it does seem to be a common thing that a trauma of some kind is what triggers it. I'm sure it's been building in the background, and something is the last straw, and it triggers it and brings it out. That's my thought. And I've always suspected that the causes are environmental, and now there does seem to be a link for that, because you can tie it to autoimmune stuff, which I truly believe is environmental these days. That's amazing. An MCC supplement, Justine says, is no end to your genius. No, it's not genius. It's kind of embarrassing, like, being called that, isn't it? But
our genius, darling.
Hopefully we can come up with something that'll help. That's why we're here. So yeah, we'll keep plugging away. Sounds really exciting. Yeah, we're excited about it. We've been working on that for about 3 years now, and we're still not there, because we do want something that is going to work. We don't want anything that's just going to be another take this and see if it works. And yeah, it will have to be tested and such like. So, and it all costs money. So yeah, we're doing our best, aren't we? Yeah. I've not had as much time recently to do research and things because of the move and all that. We've had quite a few things take our time up. But, yeah, it's there. We've not forgotten. We're still working on it. As I say, I'll post links if anyone wants copies of any of the slides or anything I've put up. There's links to those. I can leave those, but I'll put a link to the King's College report about the antibodies. But I'm not convinced that taking a drug to suppress your antibody production is a good idea. It's going to leave you wide open to any kind of infection. No, I don't think that's a good approach at all. It might alleviate symptoms, but what else is going to happen to you? I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's just my feeling. You start suppressing your immune system. I mean, there are people who are on treatments like that, and they've got to be very careful what they do. Especially, I don't know, is it like chemo patients, things like that? It suppresses your immune system, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm not convinced it's a great idea, not unless you absolutely have to do that.
Pam says you're amazing, Mark.
It just says Facebook user. Sorry, I can't see who it is. It's Pam. Right, okay, thank you. Rosemary said it's like when you're given a medication plus another medication to protect your stomach from the first one. Yeah, it's all that kind of thing. What they should be looking at is what's causing the problem, not just treating the symptoms. Getting fed by the monkeys, another fob off. Yeah, it's a weird society we live in these days, and it does all seem to have started around about the same time. It's strange. Late 80s. I could ramble on about that for hours and hours, but I'll bite my tongue about that sort of stuff, I think, today. So if anyone wants to talk personally about that sort of thing, they can do. It's probably not best mentioned on a live. I have quite a few opinions on that sort of thing. Kieran says, hi mate, only just popped on.
I think it's meant to say not sure.
The topic is fibromyalgia and possible causes of it, Kieran. Yeah, there's been reports published recently about fibromyalgia being linked to autoimmune disease, autoimmune dysfunction, all that kind of thing, which is something we've suspected here for quite some time. Pretty much from day one with me, wasn't it? About why you, and the causes of how you came to have fibro. It kind of makes sense. We will post the links at the end. I've put some slides up. I can probably just put those up again while I'm talking.
It's supposed to have to be.
Yeah, it's basically showing the correlation between environmental factors. I've picked on one, which is glyphosate, but there's many others. Round about late 80s, all these things started to be used, and that's when you started to see a rise in kind of these autoimmune complaints. Just examples I've just thrown up, and this one is a link between estrogens and antibody production in your body, how it accelerates it. It also sensitizes your cells to react to those. So yeah, we're not just talking, we're not just making this up. There's evidence out there, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So environmental factors, glyphosates, phthalates, things like that. An increase in estrogenic effects in the environment, which has been shown to cause an increase in autoimmune effects as well. And one of the reasons is antibody production accelerates in your body. Also, the receptor sites for these are more prolific and sensitized as well. So yeah, I shall post all these at the end of the live. We've got a visitor now, so on that note, I think I'll jump off. So fingers crossed, 12 months time, we may have something that'll help. Yeah, we are working on it. We have been working on it for a long time. So yeah, ears to the ground. We will let you know how we get on with that. So hopefully everyone will have a good weekend this weekend, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Thanks for joining. See you, folks.